Last time in this series, I talked about Aaron Alston, specifically his Star Wars Legends novels, and ranking them based on the user reviews from the five largest book reviewing websites in a series EU by the numbers, whose data I collected over 2 years ago for the expanduniverse.com. Now, if you want more information on how I came to these numbers and the process of calculating all this, you can either go to my previous video or the link in the pinned comment on the expanduniverse.com. But today I'm going to go over a man who probably needs no introduction, uh, Timothy Zahn, and his novels. First off, just starting with some stats. He has 10 novels, which is tied for third amongst the adult novels authors and seventh overall. He is behind Jude Watson, Kevin Janderson, Rebecca Maceda, who have 47, 21, and 17 respectively. Ryder Whittam and Alston are, of course, tied for fourth at 13. Denning and John Whitman tied at fifth, with 12. And then Karen Travis, who he's also tied with at 10. He has an average star rating of 4.07, which is fourth best overall, a first best of 270,575 user ratings, or the total number of people who left a either review or star rating on his books, and has 27,057 and a half user ratings per book, also puts him at first. He was also active within Star Wars Legends from 1991 to 2013. I will not be talking about his canon novels, as that is outside of the scope of this video. Starting off at number 10, we have Scoundrels, Timothy Zahn's last entry into Star Wars Legends, which debuted on Tuesday, January 1st of 2013. This had a star rating of 3.92. This is how many stars out of 5 it was given across the 5 user reviews websites, as they all have a 5-star review scale, with 6,458 user ratings and an overall ranking of 61 out of 160. At number 9, we have Outbound Flights, which came out on Tuesday, January 31st, 2006. It has a 3.94 star rating, 13,072 total ratings, and an overall ranking of 58 out of 160. At number 8, we have Survivor's Quest, which came out Sunday, February 1st of 2004, with a star rating of 4, just a hair above 4, total user ratings of 9,059, and an overall ranking of 36 out of 160. Coming in at number 7, we have Allegiance, which came out on Tuesday, January 30th, 2007. This with a star rating of 401, a user ratings total of 8,742, and an overall ranking of 33 out of 160. Now, just ahead of it, by 5 thousandths of a star in one spot on the overall rankings, is actually Spectre of the Past. A bit of a surprise for me. This came out on Monday, November 3rd of 1997. It has a star rating of 4.01, but 5 thousandths higher than Allegiance. A user ratings of 18,947, which is a lot more than Allegiance, and an overall ranking of 32 out of 160. And at 5, we have Vision of the Future, which came out on Tuesday, September 1st, 1998. It is a star rating of 4.1 and a total user ratings of 16,878, with an overall ranking of 18 out of 160. Now, shockingly, at number 4, we actually have Choices of One, which came out on Tuesday, July 19th of 2011. This one has a star rating of 4.13, with a user ratings of 6,313 and an overall ranking of 14 out of 160. Now, not surprising, the top 3 is all going to be the Thrawn trilogy, though what may surprise you is the order in which they are. At number 3, we actually have Heir to the Empire, which came out Wednesday, May 1st of 1999. This has a star rating of 4.16, a massive user ratings of 80,485, and is overall 13th out of the 160 Star Wars adult novels. Coming in at number 2, we have Dark Force Rising, which came out 1 year later on Friday, May 1st of 1992. Also note, as I said in the previous video, the dates may be a little off. I got these from the Amazon, not Wikipedia, as I spoke in the last in the last episode of this, but the dates aren't really set in stone and they vary from source to source, so these dates might not be 100% accurate, but are pretty close. This has a star rating of 4.18, a total user ratings of 58,240, and an overall ranking of 12 out of 160. And at number 1, we have The Last Command, which came out on Saturday, May 1st, 1993, 1 year after Dark Force Rising, with a star rating of 4.24, total user ratings of 52,381, and an overall ranking of 9th out of 160, meaning it is in the top 10 according to the user review scores across these websites of Star Wars adult novels. Now, one last thing, some charts, some really fascinating stuff with Zahn, which kind of puts some numbers on some things I think we intuitively knew within the community, but didn't really have much actual factual data to prove it. But if you look at the star ratings over time, you can see that generally speaking, the Thrawn trilogy is, again, as you said, at the head, but they generally have a downward trend with some upsets with Vision of the Future and Choices of One. But I think the bigger kicker and the really fascinating thing is when you look at the number of ratings or reviews over time. I mean, with the Thrawn trilogy getting 80,000 in Heir to the Empire and over 50,000 in Dark Force Rising in Last Command, this really puts into perspective just how popular these books are. Now, it's fair to say that how many people are leaving a review or rating on this book on one of these 5 websites doesn't necessarily one-for-one correlate with how many people read the books. But I do think it's a fair assumption that if Book A and Book B, if Book A has more reviews than Book B, then most likely more people have read Book A than Book B. And this is really huge. You don't see it because they're not on here, but there are only 2 other Star Wars Legends novels with over 20,000 user reviews. They are Path of Destruction and Dark Plagueis, who each have 25,000. Everything else is below 20K, and outside of the top 40, outside of 38, only the top 38 are even in 5 digits. So if you really want to see a chart that is just how big the Thrawn trilogy was, it's here. These first 3 dots, that's the Thrawn trilogy. That is how well they did. The next 2 dots, that's how well, roughly speaking, the best of the rest of the EU did. And those final 5 dots, that's about what the average of the rest of it did. So I think the one takeaway I would have from this video, aside from the list, is just this chart and just kind of as a visual for how big the Thrawn trilogy really was and still is. So that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching. Please let me know what other authors you want me to cover. As I said, I'm probably going to stick to the authors who wrote for mainly adult novels in Star Wars Legends and who had at least 5 entries just to keep make it at least a top 5 and to keep it interesting. Thanks for watching and take care.